Well,
Can
good
you hear?
afternoon, everyone.
Can you hear
Welcome
me?
to.
Can you
Hi,
hear me,
yes.
everyone? Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yes, sure
That's what I
can.
need. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Frank.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Donna, as well. I wonder, Ambrose or Amber, if you could allow her mic and,
I already got you covered.
of course. Well, again, just welcome everyone. We are excited to have you here for today's episode, January 19, today's episode of CED Office Hour Live. We're in a special series over the next few weeks called Get Your Thrive On. And the hope is to, for many of us, this is a time of year where we're thinking about our well-being in the coming year, financial well-being, physical well-being, emotional, social emotional, mental well-being. And so we're just hoping to bring some experts from the Family Consumer Sciences team to come and talk to us about the latest research around each of these topics. Our hope is by the end of this series that you'll feel like you can make a strategic changes and plan in place to have well-being and in your mind, body, and soul. And so thank you so much for joining us. This is a program, CED Office Hour Live is a program of the Community Economic Development Unit here at Central State University Extension. As many of you know, community economic development covers all aspects of our life as individuals, as businesses, as farmers, as workers, employees, and everything in between. And so we just like to bring experts in fields that are important to all those spaces to come and share with us the latest about those topics. And super glad to have with us here the three leaders in the Family Consumer Sciences unit to share with us. But first, let me introduce, we have Amber Twitty and Ambrose Moses, and the three of us make up the Community Economic Development Unit. We just are super appreciative to be able to bring this today's topic here and share this with you. So with that, I'd like to go around, I don't know, maybe looking at my screen here, maybe Stacy, then Beverly, then Elizabeth. Maybe you could start us off, maybe just share a little bit about yourself and your background, your interests, and so forth.
Okay, well, I'm Stacy Stangl, and I'm a family consumer science educator in Northeast Ohio. I live in Spencer, which is in southern Medina County. Some of my interests, I farm along with being an educator for Extension, and I also raise cats. So I have a helper cat here providing some insight as well. And thank you, Eric, for inviting us.
Absolutely. I think we're joking beforehand, but I think there's research behind this, right? Our animal friends can be a part of our emotional and social well-being as well. So great. Thank you, Stacy. Beverly?
The counties that we serve are all the way from Licking County to Belmont, down to Gallia, back up through Hocking. So it's like a triangle, a little triangle. So really pretty part of the state. Some of the things that I'm interested in, I love mental health. I started out on the track to become a licensed professional counselor. And so I took a lot of interesting coursework about wellness, what that means, different diagnoses of people, etc. And then I decided I wanted to do something a little different. I didn't think I wanted to just sit all day and listen to people talk about their problems. I wanted to be more action oriented. So I switched up a little bit in career, and I really enjoy being a community educator because I feel that with the programs that we offer, people are really grateful about the topics, especially about stress management. Like Eric had mentioned, we're in a time where stress management is kind of a hot topic. and it feels like everybody's dealing with how to manage stress in their daily life. So I love being a part of the team because it's so creative in terms of what we teach. We could teach a nutrition class on a Monday, a suicide prevention class on a Wednesday, a stress management class on a Friday. So it's very unique, and we try through our needs assessments to meet the needs of the counties that we serve. So like Stacy said, thank you for inviting us today.
Thank you, Beverly. I remember I was walking in on a poster session that you were presenting on, and we had a fascinating poster with some tuning forks, and I was like, wow, that's so you got just diversity of interests and a lot of tools and tips and tricks to help us. So it's a really pleasure and honor to have you, Beverly. Elizabeth, would you care to share?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Flinner. I work with Stacy in the Northeast region. I live in Canton, so Stark County is one of my focus areas that I do stuff. My background, I'm a registered dietitian, so I do a lot of nutrition and wellness focused topics. I'm bringing that background in. But even with nutrition, there's always a mental health component to it because there's so many barriers to our own mind to eating healthy. We might know to eat our fruits and vegetables, but there's more components to than just sitting down to a plate of broccoli. So uh, they're intertwined, and people don't realize that. So growing my flower beds, so I have fresh cut flowers. I always like those. So thanks for having us, and we're happy to spread, the topics about, mental health and how it can relate to our life.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing, Elizabeth. And yeah, so much wisdom right there, just that little bit, right? I mean, we know the research is so clear, right? Nature is part of our 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 overall health, and also that all of this is interconnected. And so I know I personally I think a lot about the wellness wheel, right? So it's all part of the same. If any one part, if you're driving down the road and the wheel's flat, I mean, you're not going to go well. And so if we think about a wheel that way, our mental health, our physical health, the social emotional health, spiritual health, however you want to think about that, all those pieces come into play, but they're all part of the same whole. We're whole human beings. But what if we're not doing well in one piece of those, one element of that, it affects all the others. And I just really heard that very clearly as you were talking about that, Elizabeth. So thank you. That's a powerful picture. Well, I'd like to go ahead and folks, as you're listening in, I think you've seen in the chat, but this is a space we welcome questions, and we'll get to those as we go along. Feel free to pop those in. I'm going to, as a facilitator for today, I have a few questions just to tee up the topic, and then we'll get started with that. So maybe we just keep kind of the same rotation, if that's okay. So Stacy, you first, and I guess what I'd be curious about, just kind of building off of what Beverly said, this is the topic of mental health, sort of that social emotional well-being. It just has a real resonance right now, I think, in our society, and I'd be curious to know from you all, like, what's playing into that? Why is this on, an issue that's kind of on the rise in terms of our just awareness of it, um, and then what should we be thinking about in terms of this topic of mental health?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up about, where we've ended up. And it's like a broken wheel of, everything runs back to COVID and the isolation. In humans, we're not typically isolated. We don't like to be isolated, and in that created a hailstorm with mental wellness and illness because of the isolation. So coming back out of it, people realize that there's more to life than work, than because that's all they had left in some cases was all they could do was go to work and still be isolated and not have human contact. And so besides work and family and, all of the other things, friends, it made it difficult. So people are much more aware now of what they missed, and it's on the forefront. Um, so that's a perfect point there of why people are paying attention right now. One of my important points about the resolutions and going into the new year, people make resolutions because they think, okay, it's the beginning of a year, it's a fresh start, and they're going to change something that they've been meaning to change in their life. And my key point with that is about being realistic and realistic about what it is you want to achieve. I mean, people make resolutions. Some people don't even make resolutions because they're tired of failing. And sometimes the failure comes about from not being realistic about where they're going and what they want to do. Um, and then once they get to the realistic part, then they kind of set themselves up, though, by not having a well planned path to get where they want to go. When I was in the classroom teaching, that was one of my topics was goal setting. And with the kids, we would make mobiles, and they'd set some long-term goals, but they had to make the goal parts, their short-term and their mid-term, and all parts of it being realistic. So, so that I always go back to, is it really something that you want to do and that you can do? And then once you've determined yes, then put a plan together, write it down, and work through it. Not expect it just to land on you like a lottery.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sage advice. Thank you, Stacy. I haven't read the book, but I've seen a lot of people commenting on atomic habits, the idea of, and really break it down to that atomic level, right? With those small changes that
Right,
snowball into lasting difference, right?
right. And changing those habits and making new habits. That I've been reading about that too, and changing those habits so that they're put a positive twist on it, and how to lose the bad ones and how to gain the better ones.
Yeah, so important. The other thing I was reading an article the other day, just I mean I was skimming it, but boy, it really caught my attention. What was it's one of these managed healthcare uh, groups did a national study, and coming out of COVID, 57% of people were feeling alone some of the time, which is a huge growth in that statistic from pre-COVID. So to your point about the isolation and that we experienced and how that really disrupted things, yeah, really struck me. Beverly, what should we be thinking about, and what's inspiring where we at, or what's led up to where we're at now in our society?
The beginning of COVID, I think that a lot of people are experiencing now, our nervous systems are totally dysregulated. I mean, we're still trying to get calm back on track. What does that mean? There's still some residual stuff from the beginning of the pandemic, and we're going into the third year of it. And, I know people that are still getting COVID that have been vaccinated and they've gotten it more than once. And, just that whole thing, I would have to look up how long do I isolate if I get it? Because I put it somewhere else in my mind. So I think just like for me, and one of the things that I try to help people with is get in that calm space, get your nervous system back on track. And there are easy ways to do that. How much caffeine do you drink a day? Right? Can you sleep at night uninterrupted? How many times do you wake up at night? So we're in, I think, sometimes this system of fight or flight, and we got to get back into that calm state. And so again, when I've had nutrition classes with folks, I say, let's look at, again, how much caffeine do you drink? If someone happens to come to class, I'll say in a non-judgmental way, hey, let's look at the nutrition label of that energy drink that you're drinking. And then we'll have this whole conversation about, do you know that most of the stuff that's in this energy drink is not even regulated? So you wonder why your heart flutters all the time, or you're anxious, or your responses to things are not, they don't match the situation, right? And so I think for me, I try to start the day in a calm space. Because if I don't take that calm space for me in the beginning of the day, I might not have time to take that space for the entire day. And so again, like Stacy said, when you're thinking about goals, keep them simple and attainable. That concept of slow and steady wins the race. We're not winning a prize by doing 100 things. I think it's better to do 30 things and do them well, right? So just give yourself grace in this time period, because it feels different. I mean, even today, I think we're going to have spring storms later. It's January 19th. What the heck is going on? And so, what day is it? What season is it? Am I drinking too much caffeine? But again, there are simple things that you can do so that you can get yourself out of that, caffeine, stimulant, and sugar mode. And then we can kind of peel back and say, hey, eat more fruits and veggies. It sounds so easy, but it's a challenge for people. So, but again, I would say start simple. And I could go on and on. When I was writing things down for this particular topic about how to get your Thrive on, I'm like, how do I get my Thrive on? I have tons of ideas, but I'll let my colleague Elizabeth
Yeah,
share.
perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. You've already shared some ideas, all right? Starting your day off well, in a calm space, and so on and so forth, and the interplay of nutrition and all that. So thank you. But we definitely want to come back to that. We want to dig into that. Elizabeth?
Yeah, to answer the question, besides COVID, being an outlier, I think our TV shows have actually started to have conversations within the show, talking about mental health topics, which then leads to a dialogue within your whole family, if you're or friend group, whoever you're watching the shows with. What did we just watch? What are they showing? They're talking about depression, anxiety, suicide, everything that goes with mental health on our national media. And so it's giving an opportunity to see it like dramatized, but also okay to have those feelings. Anxieties, like what does it mean to have anxiety or something like that, depression. Some like tidbits, as we were talking about, like goal setting. It's a big thing. It's almost in every curriculum that us family consumer sciences teaches, about setting those SMART goals. And this is the time of year that most people do, because hey, it's January 1st, you can have check-offs along the way. But one thing I also think about is, as Beverly talked about, that meditation piece, that relaxation. As Beverly was talking about, relaxation, I'm like, I'm hunched over in my desk. I need to be sitting up more, just bringing that shoulders, back, and thinking, deep breaths when you get out of control. In our Freedom from Smoking, your program, we're talking about relaxation or hard, difficult times and not having that coping mechanism of smoking anymore, that, you need to take those deep breaths to relax. And I think we need to apply that to our lives, no matter what situation or what we're going through, and taking some deep breaths along the way, in any type of situation, to help calm ourselves down, as Beverly said, to get our nervous system re-regulated.
Yeah, thank you. And you guys are already moving into this next question, so we'll go there. But I'll say you mentioned, you threw out the word anxiety, Elizabeth, and I've got a teen and a preteen, and the federal government is now recommending, I forget which agency it is, that hey, everybody in that age group should be tested for anxiety just across the board, because it's that they're seeing evidence of it being. We're in an inflection point for sure. as a society. So, but yeah, let's dig into that. If we could just kind of go around again, but I'm just really thinking about what are those top tools or strategies for those of us listening in? We're listening in maybe because we want to have better mental health, better emotional well-being in the coming year. And so what are the tools, the strategies that you find are top of mind that you think are really, really, really worth us exploring and implementing?
Well, as Elizabeth brought up with media and social media, it just brought me back to how they are destigmatizing mental wellness and mental illness and mental disease and even with now with drug use and misuse, that they're trying to do away with the stigma so that people will seek help, because that has been a barrier in the past. And being from the farming community, I'm also very concerned with farming and farmers' mental health, because that is a huge problem that's not addressed and will continue to be not addressed, because again, it just goes um, with the um, makeup of a farming community and farmers, and just how they're raised and what they do, and just everything about it. Um, but some of the things that I first and foremost that I do to bring myself down is the judgment, and not being judgmental to myself, not judging other people, and taking that back, and a lot of times putting myself in their shoes of, what is it that they're going through, and being more empathetic, and giving myself, as Beverly said, grace, being forgiving, and just taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and just reframing things so that I see things, like I said, realistically, not through what other people's eyes should be, or what the media says it should be, or social media says it should be. But instead, what's right for me and what I can do, and realizing my limitations and being okay with that.
Yeah, so critical.
One thing that I would like to see from you all as a team is actually doing an in-service for us as an extension, right? Because most of us work remotely and all of our teams are in different regions, right? Each of you all are in a different region in the state. So, and with the COVID epidemic, it has forced, and it has good and bad implications with that. But we're on this video, right? So it's like my office is my computer screen many times, right? And then I got to turn that off, go do a training, and then I come back into this isolated space. So I think even looking at us as service providers, um, as we are continuing to grow, that maybe even if you all did some annual in-service, um, like the different things that you all said that you do to start your day and to manage that, right? And giving all of us some tools in that space, because it's not unique to the residents that we serve, right? We're people too. And I think that that would be good. And even when we onboard new extension professionals, and I think that's something that all our teams could benefit from. And James has a comment in the chat. Um, James basically is pumping you up, Dr. Frank. He said this is something that Dr. Frank is working on in the Wellness Connection Initiative. So we would love for you to kind of briefly go over what that initiative is. And before you do, just wanted to say Tosca put on here that many folks don't understand empathy, which is so true. So that's another thing that we can do continuously throughout the year. Maybe in our monthly meetings or something, you all have a 5-minute or 10-minute kind of in-service training. And then also, Donna said a great idea. She's on a different region, right, from me, on a different team, and she transitions back and forth a lot in her her role as well. So
And Joel
thank you, Doc.
seconded that.
Okay, so Dr. Frank, can you kind of give a brief overview of
Yes.
your Wellness Connection initiative, and then we'll go back
Yes.
to Eric.
Thank you, everybody, for getting me on board here. I must have missed something, and I want to reframe where that came from. One time when I was a graduate student, and my professor, mentor, wanted me to go somewhere with him, and I said, I'm busy preparing for 2 exams the following weekend. He said, well, Joseph, you're gonna miss something if you don't go. But I had to rearrange my schedule to go with him. He took me to Cincinnati Spaghetti Factory, and then to see Cincinnati Zoo and everything else. So anyway, I must have missed a lot. So that's where it come from. Anyway, let me summarize. I'm just gonna make a summary. I thought about it, and then I shared it with Mr. Keys that we have been talking. We do talk about things, but sometimes we got to actually bring up some of the problems that we as a group are facing, because it might be from our households, it might be from location we work at. It might be some kind of other things that we don't know. It might be a job environment. Now, how can we consolidate that and make sense out of it? That way we can be, we can be released from that pressure in a way that when we get to talk about things, then we know what we're talking about, and we focus, and then we know that we have already managed that aspect of stress among us. Sometimes last year, I said I made a proposal that we're going to have what I call Wellness Connection Forum. And that means bring up the topic, and some experts will talk about it. And I even talk about saying addiction, talk about other topic that might have affected you personally or your family member or friends, that we can come as a group and propose some kind of solution to it. We may not always do everything, but we can pick up some areas that might have a very high prevalence, and then tackle those areas. That way we can solve our problems. We have to solve our problem before we can solve problem from other people. We actually have to solve our problem. Is it financial? Is it job location, like Miss Amber was talking about? We happen to be different locations. How does that affect our own performance, as well as getting along with other people? Do we always get people on board whenever we want them, or do we have a synergistic approach to working with people? Because I know CED, FCS, EMPA, 4H, we are all what we call this connection. We have this is for what we call the same area of work. So if we connect, sometimes like we are trying to do now, it will be worthwhile, because some people might know some area that they're very good, and they share with other people from other departments. So those are the kind of things. And then we bring in what we call best practices and success stories. What made you succeed where you were working? You might have been in Toledo, you might have been in Columbus, and so on. So let me not take too much time. And the framework is being worked on. We hope to have the first meeting next month. So I use the opportunity to invite everybody to be in lookout for the invitation. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Frank, I have a quick question.
Sure.
For that project, are you operating any of those project activities in the Dayton area?
Yes, it will be a Dayton area, and
Okay.
all over the place, all over Ohio, in short. And then we
Okay.
will have some people from county public health all over the state, statewide, to
Okay, I
be
have
on
a
board.
contact for you in the Dayton area that I
Appreciate
think would
that.
be good for you. So
I appreciate
okay.
that. And matter of fact, I met with Alcohol Anonymous I met with the Community Action Partnership. I met with the Claremont County, and you name it. So all of those
Oh,
people.
you've been down my way. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Professor. That's why I sent an email to Regional Extension Associate so that they'll be aware of when they see the email, they'll know that I'm not running on them or something. And it's just that we want to work together. That's all. And all the professionals from each county statewide, once in a while, they will be on each of our meetings and then talking. You guys are the hosts. We all are the hosts, but we have some experts that are going to come in and then present something. Then we may have a gap that we need to fill in, or they have a gap that we need to fill in and get us going that way. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Frank.
You're
It's
welcome.
exciting to know that this is being built, and so important, especially right now.
You're welcome.
I don't know. That's a tough act to follow, but Beverly, Elizabeth, anything else that you know within that? What are some tools, strategies that you really want to make sure we get out as ways we can improve, strengthen our mental health well-being in 2023?
Yeah, Eric, you had mentioned, so for the poster session, I had presented on stress management through sound and breathing. And we actually have a program in Perry County at the Somerset Library. And it's nice because Shelby got us connected with yoga mats and bolsters and blankets and a space that's conducive to total relaxation. And what's nice is last week, none of the participants, they're like, we never thought about this. What the heck is a tuning fork? If you're a musician, you have them because you're tuning your guitar or other instruments, but they can be used for really quick, deep relaxation. And it was interesting because when I'm working with someone one-on-one, it's a little different than when I'm working with a group. So each participant reported out where they felt the sound. And of all 7 participants, each one of them said, I felt the sound in my knees, in my shoulders, in my abdomen, in my feet. It went to the part of the body that needed sound attention. And it's really fascinating. It's a fascinating thing because we're all, vibrational energy in the universe. And so an easy way, again, to get your nervous system regulated is through that sound. And so not everybody can get down on a yoga mat. That's okay. I can do a protocol for them sitting in a chair. And they were excited to come back. Tomorrow is the second class, and they're asking about, I'm sure some of you have heard the singing bowls, but any of those frequencies can really get you into a calm space. And so once you get calm, if that's an unfamiliar way to be, you got to kind of relearn how to be calm. I'm calm. I'm not worried about something for 5 minutes, and so I'm so thrilled to actually have participants, and I would love to do, Amber, some sort of, topic or an in-service. I could just see all of Extension on their yoga mats in the room that we were in when we were on campus, because that's a powerful modality. And if it's free to people, that's even better. We don't charge a fee, of course. And so, again, I think it helps people be in the present moment. We are all the time worried about the past and the future, and all we have is we're here together in this moment in space and time.
Well,
I'm not
I'm
sure
gonna put a shameless ask that you coordinate with James and bring that activity down here. We have a couple places that I've been in conversations on some other projects, and they were talking about doing something around mental health, and I think that'll be a unique spin and still has a practical application. So I'm not trying to overstep, James, but I hope you will coordinate to bring Beverly down and we can put something together.
In my Bob Barker voice, come on down. Oh, guys, he don't say that. No, you know what I'm saying.
Well, that's it. So I'll follow up with you and James, and we'll coordinate something and make it a good event. I'm thinking probably at New Prospect Church or Bethel. James.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
curious,
yeah. Go
Beverly.
ahead.
So if I'm listening in, I mean, so this sounds, really fascinating. Can I just go get a tuning fork from Walmart and start this?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. You said it's fascinating, and then
Oh, well,
about
so I'm just
starting
trying to
it. Is
think
that what you
if I'm
said?
listening in, yeah, what do I do? What do I do? Can I go to Walmart, get a tuning fork and use that?
Yeah, just download that on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. It's helpful. One of the things that is required to work with other people, and again, if you're not doing it at, you don't have a vendor's license and you're not doing it as at the Eric Smith tuning fork business, you could do whatever you want essentially, but there are certifications in it, but it's so simple. It's just using scaled tuning forks. And there are really easy protocols that you can actually download from the internet. We we're just thinking about different trainings, but to just make it practical for folks, the participants in my class said, hey, can we reach out to the director of adult programming and see if we can get a couple tuning forks that we could sign out and practice with? And so I asked about that so folks can actually use what they learned in the class on their own. So yeah, depending on what you would like to spend, you could do high end or low end, but you could get some tuning forks and be on your way, and probably less than a week from Amazon.
Wonderful. Elizabeth, what's on your mind? What are some tips and tricks,
Well,
tools and
what comes
strategies?
to my mind as a registered dietitian and being mindful, and our mindful practice is intuitive eating. Uh, Intuitive eating has been around for a long time, but just like we're talking now, things have been more popular, bringing out that intuitive eating scale. So basically, eating when you're hungry and not just emotionally eating our feelings. So it's a scale from 0 to 10. You don't wait until you're a 0 to eat. You wait until you're like a 2 or 3 scale, and then you eat as much food to fill you up until you're like an 8, 7 or 8, and then that 9 or 10 is like when you overeat. You think you're going to a buffet, and you just overgorge, and then you feel just horrible. Why did I eat so much? So that just being mindful of what you're actually eating, and your body's hunger cues, not necessarily, because that could be the first step of maybe your mental roadblock to dieting, is just thinking about why. Do you have a drawer full of candy? Are you just going to sit here, and eat the chocolate in your drawer? Or are you going to actually think about, oh, okay, I'm actually hungry, let's go make a lunch, instead of sitting here and taking, and eating the whole bag of chips? So that's just like another trick. Some people will lose weight or become a little bit healthier because they're making that emotional connection to that food. And they're realizing, a stressful day, they're craving, macaroni and cheese, or pizza. And so that might not be the best food options all the time. And so okay, now if I eat this, I feel a little bit better. I'm not waiting till I'm completely hungry, and now I'm going to overeat really fast. So that's another like mental component of just being mindful of what's fueling our bodies.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. And I see Amber, thank yous. We put that in the chat. I wonder if we could, the other thing Elizabeth had said before was the SMART goals, and I feel like we should put that in the chat as well. I don't know if you want to do that, Amber. Yeah. So maybe if we could do like one more question that I have, and then we'll come back to the questions in the audience. But um, these are, I'm sitting here, I'm listening, and I'm getting ideas for things that I can implement and try in the coming year. I feel like sometimes, certainly I know this is true for me, we've got people in our friend group or family who are also struggling somewhere in this space, mental health space. And so I guess I'm wondering, what should I be paying attention to? What are concerning signs, etc.? And then what are some resources or things that I might be able to pass on or point people to in my life? So, Stacy, I don't know if you'd be willing to start us off with that.
Well, that's the same going back to being empathetic and just being aware. And I know one of the things that we offer, Bev and I do QPR workshops, and that's question, persuade, and refer. And that's just paying attention to cues and comments and behaviors that you see that are not typical of what they were, and having the strength to actually say something, to bring it up and to have a conversation, and make things that would seem difficult to have a conversation about just seem normal and approachable. Um, and so if there's anything that seems off about somebody, if they don't appear to be as engaging as they were, or body language will give a lot of indications, but sometimes behaviors as well. But paying attention to those atypical behaviors of a person that you know, and care about, and actually have, being assertive about what you see, and making sure, the conversation is not accusatory, but more of accepting, I see, I feel, I hear what you're saying, instead of you look different, you this, because that puts them, behind a cue ball sometimes. And it makes it easier when they feel that you're asking them how you can help them, because a lot of people won't ask for help and they don't know what to do. So it becomes paralyzing. So really just noticing what people are what people are doing around you, and how you perceive it to be atypical, and offer suggestions, having a toolbox of different techniques, whether it's mindful eating, or whether it's intuitive eating, or whether it's more physical activity, because that physical activity has shown to improve your mood, and it's just the motivation that sometimes we lack to get there. And just being able to, put out a bunch of different suggestions that someone may be like, oh, I can do that, or I can fit that in, or that sounds interesting. And then being able to move them along and give them their own tools that they have for themselves.
Stacy, can you? Yeah, I think you gave me a phrase early on, QPR or something like that. What was that?
QPR is a suicide prevention workshop, and the QPR stands for question, persuade, and refer. So
Okay.
it's not, you don't have to be a professional, you just have to be a friend. You have to be someone that cares, and makes the next step of asking, what is it that's going on, and then, if it needs to be, persuading them to do something about it, if there is something, and then referring to someone who is a professional that can help them.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And yeah, that was useful. That question, persuade, refer. I know now to go and Google that and learn more, dig deeper. But yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you, Stacy. Anything you would add, Beverly, to that conversation?
I think just to not being afraid to ask somebody if they're okay. I think a lot of us are afraid to ask if someone's okay, because what if they're not? And then, this person has shared something with you that they might be in crisis. It might just be a momentary thing, but just holding space for someone like Stacy said, being, confident enough to ask the question for folks. It's amazing to me. One of the things that, over the Christmas break or just recently, the dancer, Stephen Boss, that committed suicide, I was floored because I've been following him as a dancer for many, 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 many years. And there is no way I would ever know that he was that depressed to, not want to be around anymore. And again, you never know what somebody's going through. As much as we try to put ourselves in other people's shoes, I think the best that we can do, and like Stacy said, having that empathy, is to just hold space and listen to people when they're talking. Don't listen to respond, listen to hear what they're saying. And that when in my teenage years, there was no social media. There was no, my sports career or my academic career, it wasn't for the whole world to see on social media, right? Or a filter that I would use to make myself look different. It's just so unnatural that I think some of us, we have a hard time limiting our social media intake because it just doesn't feel like real life. There are positive benefits, obviously, to social media, but I think I'd have a hard time if I had teenagers letting them be on any kind of social media. So, but yeah, just being there for someone in the space if they're not okay. Because I don't know, unless it's really overt and easy to pick up, sometimes we can't pick up whether or not somebody is going through it and how close we want to get to that in order to help them. But I think sometimes overstepping a boundary is better than just ignoring. So, yeah.
That's part of what we're going to be able to unveil, and people can make it confidential by meeting one-on-one with an expert. They don't have to share with us. We can make suggestions and say, hey, if you feel like anything at all, you don't have to explain. We have experts for you to talk to in a closed door. Because, for example, as Beverly just said, some time ago we had I think it was last year, they had somebody at Walmart turning gun on other people and turning gun on himself, but it probably didn't look like he was going to do that. And then something had to be internalized in his mind for a long time. And then when that came out, and then he must have tolerated for a long time. But if he could have spoken out and met with somebody, at least in a confidential way, that's my goal. To say, if you feel like something, talk to somebody in a confidential way, and the person is going to treat it confidential, and then work with you to get you over that. But not, you don't have to share with the public. Just one person that you can say, we can locate and say, hey, talk to this person. Just go talk to him, that person. So, and maybe we look at the cause, or what I might call etiology on the scientific background. Say the cause of a problem. Say, oh, what is it that we can do? This is the problem. This is the cause. Maybe the job environment is not good enough for you. People are taking advantage of you. Okay, transfer to somewhere else. Go to a different company. Instead of saying people took advantage of me, because it's what happened. People are people, but you can take care of yourself by managing it, by professional helping you to manage it that way. You don't have to be a number that happen to be in that kind of situations, things like that. All right, thank you. And I want to say that I have another meeting. I will ask for an excuse to leave just before in the next 5 minutes.
That's fine. I want to say, I know it was about a year and a half ago. I took a training. So I think this year, like later this year, I have to take it again. But I found it to be very helpful. And it's equivalent to taking a general CPR, right? But it's the mental health kind of first responder training. So it's just for common person like me that's not in the mental health field, but helping to de-escalate the situation and keep it as calm as possible till the professionals get there, right? And kind of being that kind of just making you more observant of the surroundings on how people's body language and things are. That, hey, you know, I might want to keep an eye on him, not because I feel that he or she is dangerous. It's they look like they're getting ready to go into some kind of episode, right? So I think that was a very, very good training that I took, and I look forward to taking it again. I think Dr. Gupta is certified to do that training now. Um, but you know, I think one of the biggest things regarding mental health things are issues are that it's so stigmatized. And it's very stigmatized in the African American community, right? It's like, oh, you're going to a doctor, you're going to counseling, you know. No, that's being proactive. It's like going to get your checkup. You have to be proactive about your mental health. If your mental isn't strong, your whole you can have physical ailments if your mental is off, right? So you have to take care of that just like you do your physical body. And I just wanted to say I think that that is very important. And one of the things that I've done is I just intentionally call people that I hadn't talked to in a while and just say, hey, I love you. I know we haven't talked. I love you. I recognize you. I see you. Are you good? Right? And I can't tell you how many times it might have been on somebody else just having a bad day. They're like, oh, I am so glad I've had all of this. I'm not trying to unload it on you, but I'm just glad to hear a positive voice that day. And thank you for calling, or thank you for the smile. So it's those little things. You don't know how much that can help somebody get through the day. So that's how I've changed my kind of routine on things, because I'm a workaholic and I'll get in my mode and I have to pause and say, hey, let me call. I haven't talked to so-and-so. So that's something that I do.
And now you're practicing empathy, as Stacy's taught us, and yeah. And again, I suppose that does something for yourself too, right? I mean, I think that probably impacts your well-being as well
Yes.
when you do that.
I just
Yeah.
want to throw this out here and as a reminder that, you know, the suicide hotline got a new number recently, and it's an easy number to remember instead of like a 1-800 number. It's 988 if you ever need to call it to talk to someone, and it's 24 hours every day of the week that someone's there to answer your call, to just talk to you and, you know, help you through whatever you're going through if you're having a mental health crisis.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people pushing that forward, right? So that was actually a big event this year, was to get something simple we can call. We all know 911. Now we have something 988 to call or to refer people to. Excellent, excellent. Well, I'd love to. We got just a few minutes left. My, how time flies. Boy, I feel like we've learned so much already, right? So everything from the importance of outdoors as part of our mental health to the mindful eating, or what did you call it, Elizabeth?
Intuitive eating.
Intuitive eating, to sound and the vibrations and the importance of that. Just so much what we've learned today, the importance of empathy, the importance of setting small, doable goals, smart goals to keep yourself on the journey, on the path. But I'll just open it up. Anyone else have a question or a tool or something that's worked for you, just as Amber just shared? Maybe someone else in the audience would like to share, hey, this is what's been helpful for me in my life, right? So I'll open up that.
I'm sorry. I
Please.
do listen to music myself, and sometimes I get some of my kids do something. Maybe they still developing the brain, still developing, and get into doing something that might get me angry, or start making me think very irrationally. And then, so I turn on my music. I listen to my music, sit down for one place. Maybe I start dancing myself. I say, oh, well, this is nothing is more romantic than the sweet sound of music. And, I listen to music, and then I feel better right after that music is playing. If I like it, music, that very song, I play another one. And before I finish playing 2 or 3, I will be pretty much ready to go. My mind will be settled, and it will be time for me to go take a bath. So I feel good about that. So that works out for me.
Yeah, that's great. What a important reminder. Yep. Music, exercise, calling your friends, checking out on them, acquaintance. Okay, building that social connection is important too. Good. What else, folks? What else have you found works for you?
Hi everyone. Eric, I just was gonna share possibly journaling. That's
Mhm.
something that I was told about, like, I don't know, at the beginning of college, but didn't stay consistent with it.
Yeah,
And as we were talking about just anxiety and thinking in the future and in the past, I feel like journaling now is something that helps me kind of just stay present, get all my thoughts out on paper. I actually have this book. It's called a burn book, so you
mm,
could like burn the pages once you rip them out. But also just ripping them up, and just letting go of like that negative energy or those negative thoughts that you might be holding on to. So journaling, if anybody's interested.
that's great. Burn books, journaling. Yeah, thank you,
And
Joel.
Shashonda added working on puzzles can help as well.
So true. What great insight.
Hey, I was gonna say, just something that you enjoy. I mean, really, I think when I talk to people about, if they're having a tough day, I said, what is that you really enjoy? What do you like to do? Like some of it was mentioned, like for me, I like to exercise, I like to read, I like to, listen to podcasts about, things that I'm interested in, and that seems to kind of get me, mentally, positively thinking about, what it is that I want. So I would kind of go that route. That's what I use. But this has been really good today. Really good. Thank you. Really good.
Yes. Mhm.
Very good. I know I see Tasca's adding to this. I just want to open up. Ambrose, any last thoughts that you'd like to bring to us?
Nope, just it's nice to um, be able to be on air jointly with some of the people from our other teams, and as we always say with community and economic development, it touches on everything. And and when we first started as a team a couple years ago, um, that was one of the things that we noticed was that people didn't fully understand CED. They think it's just the business part, but quality of life issues is a major part. Relationship building is a major aspect. That's half of CED work, right? Community economic development work. And so I'm just glad that we had the opportunity to get on FCS team, Family and Consumer Sciences team, with to talk about some of the great things that they're doing and and we've already made some connections on how we can help each other with our respective programs and throughout the state of Ohio. So I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to thank you all for sharing with us today as well. And this is a topic I think that we will need to revisit because it does have even wider, broader application than what we talked about here today. And it's very important, So, in terms of mental health, um, it's been an issue for many, 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 many years. So it's in terms of its recognition or being, for lack of a better word, sort of legitimized as something to be addressed. That aspect might be new, but it's been a concern, a problem that people have been dealing with for many, many years. And I think that we will get some opportunities as we do some more cross-program activities like these to address that and to benefit the communities that we all serve. Thank you.
I just wanted to add real quick, Tosca said self-care is a wonderful way to take care of your mental health. It can be sitting outside, getting a good meal. It's whatever makes you happy, feel happy.
Yeah, so true.
And
We
then
agree.
Donna said, I would like to say, to get outside, fresh air is always good.
Yeah, so true.
That's all we have
so
in the
true.
chat, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Amber.
I have to Eric and Ambrose and Amber. Thank you very much for inviting us, and especially James for getting the ball rolling on even bringing it to our team and making the suggestion, because we're grateful to get the exposure and the cross teaming that we are doing here. And I hope that it helps people as, you know, they watch the recording, they reach out, and, you know, if they're in any of our areas, they have some faces and names to reach out to. And so thank you very much for inviting us. I got to
Yeah,
drag
truly.
Dr. Frank with me to another meeting.
Same with me. Thank you, everybody. All the CED as well as the FCS and IGNA team and 4H. We happen to be a good team. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Ambrose, my gratitude. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and back to you all,
Bye-bye.
Stacy, Dr. Frank, Elizabeth, Beverly, just thank you. What a gift that's been to have you on, to share from your insights, the research, your wisdom. It's been just fantastic and really appreciate this. And I feel like it's the start. It was just the start to something that's going to snowball into something really significant, really important. So just grateful to everyone. Quick reminder, come back next week. FCS will be back with us to share this time about financial fitness. And so that's that might be part of your mental health issue, right? It's finances. So, so come on back. And then the week after that, we'll talk about the physical side of it. And Elizabeth clearly made that connection as well. So just thank you, everyone. Come on back next week.
Bye-bye.